What started out as a routine shift at a poultry processing plant in Hamlet, North Carolina, quickly devolved into a massacre. Workers were locked inside, doors had been chained shut, and as a result, 25 people died in a desperate struggle against the exits. Welcome to the Aftermath Archives. This is the horrifying true story of the Imperial Foods Processing Fire. In the small country town of Hamlet, North Carolina, stood the Imperial Chicken Processing Plant. For over a decade, it had been a familiar sight, a steady employer within the community. Inside, hundreds of workers processed chicken. It was a cold, damp, and noisy environment, demanding long and difficult hours from its vulnerable workforce. These were people that were simply trying to earn a living, completely unaware of the deadly conditions that had been allowed to fester, creating a literal ticking time bomb within the facility. Management, led by owner Emmett J. Rowe, operated with an alarming disregard for basic safety. There were no fire alarms, no sprinkler systems, and no routine fire drills. But most importantly, he made a decision that would seal the fate of dozens, a deliberate act of negligence. Emmett had personally ordered the doors be locked during the day. The ones that couldn't be locked, he ordered them chained from the outside. And this wasn't a matter of safety. It was to prevent his own employees from stealing chicken within the facility. Many workers had already come forward voicing their concerns about the dangers of this. And when the fire erupted, these deliberate acts of negligence turned escape routes into absolute death traps. The plant was a disaster, not waiting, but begging to happen. In the months leading up to September of 1991, one of the hydraulic lines used to power its main conveyor belt in the frying section had reportedly been leaking. It was during that time the plant's lead mechanic requested funds to purchase the proper line and connectors needed to replace the leaking hose. However, this request was personally denied by Emmett Rowe along with his son, Brad, due to its high cost, which was about $200 at the time. Instead, the maintenance crew was instructed to improvise the repair using spare parts. With that in mind, just a few days prior to the incident, they ended up using an old line to make that repair. However, it ended up being slightly too long, which leads us to the morning of September 3rd, 1991. That same crew was instructed to shorten the line using a hacksaw. They would then use a set of old connectors to rejoin the two ends, becoming a catalyst for what many agree is one of the most terrifying workplace incidents of all time. Just as the plant began to reach full production, more than 90 employees had filtered into the building. The doors were then locked, fryers turned on, and the stage is now set. At around 8:15 a.m., the connection failed, leaving highly flammable hydraulic fluid spraying directly onto one of the fryers. And then, within mere seconds, disaster struck. The fluid made its way into the flame of a nearby fryer, instantly ignited, then set flame to the grease directly above, then quickly spread through the exhaust ducts completely caked in grease as they hadn't been cleaned in several years, turning them into literal conduits for the inferno, spreading flames rapidly throughout the processing area. The plant quickly became a death trap. Thick, black, acrid smoke immediately filled the air. Visibility dropped to zero within just a few seconds. Workers, now engulfed in the ever-darkening abyss, stumbled blindly through the suffocating atmosphere. They ran, disoriented, screaming, desperately searching for the exits. Their worst fears were realized as they were hit with the cold, hard reality that the doors were still locked from the outside. Due to the factory's open floor plan, the inferno had more than enough oxygen to continue growing at a very alarming rate of speed. Once the roof caught fire, the insulation created an even bigger problem. Thick, bubbling blobs of melted plastic began raining down onto the workers below, their screams echoing into the pitch-black void. In addition to this, the smoke produced from the insulation was said to have been so toxic those who inhaled it became incapacitated within just 2 breaths. Not 1, not 2, but 10 of the plant's 12 exit doors were locked or chained from the outside. One exit was blocked by a dumpster and another by a delivery truck. There were no functional emergency lights to guide them towards the exits, and even if there were, it wouldn't have done any good. These deliberate acts of negligence had now become a horrifying reality, the air around them getting hotter and hotter by the second. Workers screamed, pushed, and clawed at the exits, but they simply wouldn't open. To make matters worse, the phone lines had been severed almost immediately due to the flames. Those who became trapped had no way of calling for help. Some desperately tried to climb over machinery and storage racks to reach the windows. But sadly, many were trapped and crushed in the terrifying and chaotic freefall that was occurring below. This fire was not just another workplace tragedy. It was now a complete and utter massacre, an act of unforgivable human cruelty. The scene that unfolded was one of unimaginable horror and chaos. The fire department wasn't officially notified until 8:35 a.m. This is due to the fact an employee had to drive to the station in order to do so. Just a short while later, firefighters and emergency services arrived, battling the flames and smoke. Their entry made all the more difficult by the heavy-duty doors and the aforementioned barriers. But the true scale of this tragedy only became apparent as they entered the burning and smoke-filled ruins. Rescuers found bodies piled high against the exit doors, a horrifying silent testament to the unforgivable negligence. Many victims were found disfigured due to the immense heat and the crushing stampede, their final moments spent in a desperate struggle to escape. The final tally was absolutely devastating, leaving the community shattered. 25 workers were killed, 18 of whom were women, 7 men. Another 55 were seriously injured, suffering a wide variety of long-lasting medical issues from the toxic fumes they had inhaled, not to mention the serious infections that occurred directly as a result of the burns. These were not just people. They were mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters. Lives that had been tragically extinguished, families completely torn apart. The horror of the Imperial Foods massacre, fire, quickly transcended the local community, sending shockwaves across the nation. It became a chilling national symbol of an extreme corporate negligence, an infuriating echo of the infamous Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fires, where similarly locked doors claimed the lives of several people. Public outcry was immense and immediate, demanding justice and accountability for such a preventable loss of life. The central question wasn't how the fire started, but why so many had died. Who would be held criminally responsible for such a disaster, not born of accident, but of a deliberate human choice? The investigation that followed the Imperial Foods fire was swift and relentless. State and federal OSHA officials launched a massive investigation, meticulously documenting every single safety violation, and their findings were extremely damning. Investigators discovered pervasive hazards throughout the plant, infractions that went far beyond the locked doors. There was a complete lack of fire alarms, no sprinkler systems, and routine fire drills had not been incorporated into their safety procedures. Equipment was unmaintained, and crucial areas lacked functional emergency lighting. Aisles had been blocked, and emergency action plans were non-existent. The most damning piece of evidence in this entire investigation revealed that plant owner Emmett J. Rowe had purposefully not registered the plant with North Carolina's Labor Department or with the state's OSHA program. This was a calculated and heinous decision, designed to ensure that the plant would never be inspected. It was a direct act of evasion, and he damn well knew the dangers associated with this. He had even dismissed workers' prior complaints about the locked doors, even ignoring small fires in the past that had sparked immense fear. In response to the overwhelming evidence of such profound negligence, the company faced substantial fines of over $800,000, becoming the largest in North Carolina's history at the time. Emmett was personally charged with 25 counts of involuntary manslaughter, although initial reports indicate Rowe denied any criminal wrongdoing. Later, when facing the mountain of evidence and intense public pressure, he eventually caved in and pled guilty to all 25 counts. He was officially sentenced to 19 years in prison, but would only serve 3 before being released on good behavior, a decision which to this very day continues to spark public debate. In total, 25 lives were lost, 54 injured, and 49 children orphaned as a direct result of the choices made by a single individual.